And we're back again with another episode of Matchup Zone here on the Norse Report. We're joined today by a guy who, honestly, he was probably supposed to join us a little earlier in the year, but it didn't work out for various reasons. Matt Dudek from the Horizone Roundtable. Matt,
Kyle, how are we doing, man?
doing good, doing good. It is Thursday, 2 days after probably. I don't know. I said this in a tweet the other day, Matt. Tell me if you agree. I don't even remember which tweet it was, but I said it was probably the best individual day of Horizon League basketball since Northern has been in the I can't speak to before Northern, but since Northern's been in the conference, like those 4 games being the only 4 games on the men's side, there wasn't a dud. It was the best collective top to bottom day of basketball in the league's history since we've been a part of it.
I can only go back a few years before you even, but you don't get 5 minutes on Sports Center as a league, like unless you're the Big Ten, you know what I mean? Like, or some other power five. Like for the Horizon League to get 5 minutes of Sports Center time with those games, and they recapped all 4 of them. That tells you how big that was. Like from a sport, like this is March Madness, and they kicked it off. They did ESPN a big favor and produced some killer games. I came home on Tuesday night from the arena because I actually get to go 2 games as media because school appreciates what we do. And
Yeah, no doubt, dude.
Sorry, Kyle, but I got home and I had about 45-minute drive. So by the time I got home, it was probably 90 minutes or so after that game had ended, and we were watching the other games on screens while we could and all that. And I was still my adrenaline was through the roof just in college basketball. And in a weird year, that was really nice. It really was. It felt normal.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't watch a lot of Sports Center anymore, but when I saw people start, like, I think I saw 2 conflicting posts. One of them was that the NKU game was the lead on Sports Center. The other one was that the Wright State game was the lead on Sports Center. But regardless, like, my guess is that it was obviously the full thing is that it was a 5-minute segment on the Horizon League. And so probably someone saw one clip before the other, and someone came in late and saw the other clip. It doesn't matter. The point is, like, they covered the league, and Campy talked about it. I actually listened to the Campy show. Yeah. He talked about it, how like his phone was blowing up from people, recruits, and like people, like national people that he knows from coaching and stuff, like basically saying, man, like that was an awesome day for the league. Like, I'm ready to, for the recruits, like I'm ready to play ball and like stuff like that. So,
well, and
cool.
I know you were listening to the Campy show. He talked. A lot of people wouldn't believe this or don't know this. Campy has a degree in journalism. And there's been times at Oakland that he's covered journalism, journalism classes and all that. And he said something about he was taught in journalism school, like you don't get a 5-minute segment on TV unless like Jesus has come or something like that.
He said Jesus wouldn't even get 5 minutes on TV. Yeah.
So for the Horizon League to get 5 minutes on leading off Sports Center and all that, and I'm not a Sports Center guy anymore. I don't even have cable, but like that's really cool, and it's big for recruiting. It's big for the league. The league put on a hell of a show on Tuesday.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would have been satisfied just with the buzzer. I mean, obviously the NKU, but the buzzer beater. But like, even if it's really hard to say this. You know what, I am going to say it. Even if it flipped the roles and we had lost on the buzzer beater, I probably still, like, collectively, I would have been devastated if that was like NKU lost on a buzzer beater and every game was a blowout. But like, given the full slate of games we got, even if you would flip the roles and NKU had lost on a buzzer beater, I would be looking at that night as like a positive overall experience, as hard as that is to say. And a lot of that is due to Wright State getting their ass kicked. But
I'm a little familiar with buzzer beaters. I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point. And they happen, and sometimes all you do is you smile and you go, "Damn, that was."
Yeah, well, it's funny because, actually, you know what? Let's just use that to segue right into this. I'm looking at this bracket, and obviously, we couldn't predict this coming into the tournament because the bracket reseeds. So like, you have to run through, what do they call it? Like a permutation, where it's like every possible just to be able to pick the right games. So like my bracket's effed. I had NKU and Oakland playing, but in the championship, that's
Right.
obviously not even possible now. So
I had Wright State Mercy, so I look extra dumb. And NKU fans that are probably watching this know how stupid I am when it comes to predictions. So like, par for the
right.
course here.
Yeah, well, we do. We'll get to that later too. But one thing I'm noticing is just kind of a small little storyline here that I haven't heard talked about, and I just honestly it just came to me as we're talking about the buzzer beaters. This is sort of a redemption tour for Oakland in a way. Like this tournament shaping out to be like a put your demons back in the closet kind of tour because they beat Youngstown State. As many NKU fans will remember, that game was one of the three most important games for NKU to go to the first NCAA tournament of in their history. You guys lost to Youngstown State on a botched inbound. Well, not botched for them, but botched defensive inbound for you guys. And I think it was 2016-17. Yeah. And you were the 1 seed and we were 0-2 against you that year, I believe. Or maybe 1-1. No. Yeah. I don't know. We were 1-5 against the top 3 seeds. So we needed all y'all to lose and you did. And a lot of NKU fans will remember that. And then again, you guys now get us. And obviously we have that infamous game where Drew McDonald hit the buzzer beater to send you guys home in the semifinals. So interesting.
So as you're talking, you mentioned the Oakland Revenge Tour, and there actually was a tweet from an Oakland fan. That's why I was grabbing my phone to see if I could find it real quick. Brad and I've tweeted with back and forth with Brad for years, and I don't know how to say his last name, but I want
What's
to.
his at? What's his at? Do you have it?
Yeah, his ad is at Brad Demo.
Okay.
So Brad Damastia. I'm not sure how Brad says
Oh
it.
yeah, I've seen that guy's name
Yeah,
around.
Brad's a great. He's actually and he's a Minnesota guy too. Like, but great Oakland fan. But he actually a day ago he said, "Welcome to the Oakland University Motor City Sadness Revenge Tour."
Yeah.
Step one was to beat YSU in the Horizon League tournament because they got us in 17. That was where Oakland center left the guy alone underneath when he shouldn't have. So that's step one. Step two is going to need to beat NKU in their tournament for the 2019 revenge. And then step three is beating CSU in Cleveland State in the finals for a 2018 revenge. So like,
what happened in 2018?
They lost to Cleveland State in the first or second round.
That was the year Cleveland State beat us when they were the 8 seed.
Yeah, so that was the 2018. Is that right?
I guess. Yeah. It was 2018. I can tell you that. I was at that effing tournament. No,
so
get
yeah,
this.
This is shaping up for potentially an Oakland University revenge tour.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I was at that tournament when we lost to Cleveland State as the 1 seed. Absolutely dominated that year, 15-3 in conference, like incredible. We lost to Cleveland State with Tyree Appleby, and I don't even remember who else. That team was insane. That was back before my Horizon Roundtable days. I was hyper focused on NKU, so I only knew the big guys for other schools. But
good.
Yeah, and so anyway, I skipped the first year we went to Detroit for Motor City Match. I was just like, we're the 4 seed, like whatever. And I'm at a wedding, and I'm looking at the scores, like as it's a Catholic wedding, so it was going on for an hour and a half. And so I'm looking at.
I know that life, man.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the scores and I'm just seeing like, oh my God, these teams are losing. And I nudged my girlfriend. I tried to at the time, and I tried to tell her, and she's like, I don't care. Shut up. It's a wedding. And I'm like, all right, well, so I turn my phone on and start watching it, but like sound all the way down. Right. And so anyway, right. So I go the next year, freaking lost in the first round. I'm like, you know what? I'm never going again. And the next year, literally the next year, Drew McDonald hits that shot. I could have been there. And it was like, oh my God.
I can tell you, as someone that was there, it was painful. I mean, I'm an Oakland person first, we know that, but I really have been trying hard to get away from just being an Oakland person and really cover the
You're always going to be a little, like, your coverage can be neutral, but your heart is always going to be a little biased.
Absolutely. And that one hurt. And to have to sit there and go into the presser where he had Cumberland with him and I think Hill Mays just sitting there like a couple, that's 2-3 minutes after these kids.
That's a ballsy move. First of all, you don't have to bring players to you after a loss or with you after a loss. And then to bring Cumberland. Yeah, that's true. To bring Cumberland though, like.
And I didn't ask a question because I didn't have anything to ask at that point. Like I remember just sitting there quietly in that room and just letting a couple other people ask questions, but the room was silent. Like, what do you say to these kids that coach in that moment? Like, especially, I mean, Cumberland kind of messed up a little bit, not to rehash this whole thing. He was supposed to switch. He should have already been out there, and he was late. He was late to recover. It happens.
To be fair, it like as bad. I mean, not, I just wouldn't say as bad. I mean, he literally almost blocked that shot. But like, as as minuscule as or whatever, there was a mistake made on defense. So that given that fact, it was the perfect play offensively. You get Jalen Tate on a full head of steam. Drew McDonald got the perfect screen, and
Yep.
Jalen did exactly what he was supposed to do. He went right at Hill Mays and attacked him, basically forcing Hill Mays to commit to stopping him. Like if Jalen Tate, like you, it's like, okay, it's like a wide receiver in football. Like if you go line up and you don't run around, like you don't like go line up with energy, and like as soon as the ball's snapped, you don't like run out like you're running a route and then you end up blocking a guy. If they can,
You see it coming.
it's all in the sell. Yeah, exactly. It's all in the sell. Like you have to sell what you're doing. And I genuinely think that if it was Xavier, if it was Mays that was late on the switch, Tate would have shot a layup or would have shot a pull up. Like there was some trust there from both of them, and we just got the right look. Tate made the right play, and
Drew McDonald was money.
Drew McDonald's is fucking nails, dude. Like
NKU did what NKU does at that point. I am mad at it.
yeah,
But
exactly.
That was a tough room to be in that day.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, okay, so we touched on it a little bit, but so Oakland did get some revenge. Nobody on this team from the year that Youngstown State beat them. That's not even possible. I don't think that it would have had to be like a redshirt freshman or something like that. Yeah. So probably just the coaching staff, but yeah, I mean, they beat them in overtime. They got them by 4. Surprisingly, an overtime 4-point game was the least exciting game of the night, as we already kind of touched on a little bit. What stood out to you in that game? If you had to pick like one thing, what was like the one thing that really stuck out to you in that game?
Biggest thing. Can I have 2? They go together. Take
2.
You
can have 10. I don't care.
I'm doing 2.
Tell me. Yeah.
That Youngstown State came back as you knew they were gonna get that game close. Like that wasn't gonna be a runaway game. Youngstown State brought the game back and had the game tied with 20 seconds left. Calls a timeout. And Oakland University, which for the long time in the league, they've been a punching bag of, Oakland doesn't play defense, doesn't play, which has never been true. They played a lot of possessions, all kinds of different things that have led to that. But Oakland played defense on Darius Quisenberry. They knew which way he wanted to go, and they prevented him from going there. And Quisenberry couldn't get anything going and ended up just throwing up a Hail Mary from almost half court to send the game to overtime. Like they had to really clamp down Youngstown State to even get that game to overtime after leading by 10, 11 points, whatever it was, for a good chunk of the game. And a lot of Oakland teams in the past, I've seen it. Like I've seen a lot of heartbreak as an Oakland person, and something would have happened, but they clamped down on defense, and then they turned around in overtime, and they took care of business. And I think that was actually really huge for the program because it doesn't always go that way for them. So like for Quisenberry not to hit some running layup to Akuche or something crazy like that was a big moment.
Yeah, no doubt. Did you say you had another one?
No, it was just, overcoming the fact that YSU made the run back, and then
got it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you read my my preview on the Oakland Youngstown State game. It was brief, but I basically laid out. It was a pretty long, robust preview. I laid out basically like how Youngstown State could win this game, and then how Oakland can win this game. And one of the like headings or paragraphs or whatever I had in there was, will the real Rashad Williams please stand up? And he's been like hit or miss all year. I know you said maybe he's been dealing with some injuries or something like that.
Yeah, that's not even, and I mean, this is important for NKU fans to know, like he's not really Rashad right now. He got in a car accident before the season started, and he needs shoulder surgery. I believe on his shooting shoulder, but don't hold me to that. I'm not positive, but yeah, he's having surgery at the end of the season, and he's at a point, he's been all season where they said, hey, look, it's not going to get any worse, but you're going to be in pain. So he's been playing through pain. And I think that's what you see sometimes. He's just not, he's never super consistent. He's a very streaky shooter, but he's also dealing with this shoulder that's no good. And then he had an ankle injury a couple weeks ago that I think he's good from, but you never really know, what he's going through. So
yeah, I think I mentioned in that article as well about the size too. Like Oakland, they don't this isn't the typical Oakland team you're used to with the Twin Towers, Brechting and Xavier Hill-Mays, but they have more length this year than they've probably. It's usually been like those two guys, and then they're a pretty guard heavy team. Obviously Cumberland last year was
2 years ago.
I would Oh yeah, that is right. 2 years ago. Geez. I would have considered Cumberland more of like a wing. But even Kendrick Nunn, like he was a little bit. I mean, he was some sort of big, but he wasn't like huge. He was
He was
always more
he
like
was
a
a big
guard.
guard. He was big for a guard.
Yeah. Yeah, he was still. I'd still call him a guard. Like I don't really call Marquez Work a wing. I call Marquez Work a guard, right? Like so. Anyway, but I did say that their size is deceptive because you're not going to look at the roster and see like 6'9", 6'10", and then be like, oh my gosh, how are we going to beat that? You look at the size and you probably think, oh, okay, like we can match up with that as an NKU fan. Like that's not, but they're deceptively big still. Like Micah Parrish and Trey Townsend both play great inside. Obviously, Dan Oladapo, like we know about him as well. He's fantastic. But one thing I actually just noticed is so Trey Townsend and Micah Parrish. First of all, I had them both on all freshman team together, literally because I couldn't decide which one because their numbers are exactly the same.
Right.
And while they probably both play a little different, their numbers are very similar. And so they're about a little over, I think it's a little under 9 points a game and a little under 13 or maybe a little over 13 rebounds a game. It's like over 12, under 14. I know that. The
Somewhere in there.
decimal
Sure.
points can be messed up, right? Combined. So to combine, those two guys went for 20 and 13. So they hit their weekend, or I mean, this past game, they hit their season averages like as freshmen. They did it. They did what they had to do. And Oladapo just got another double. No
Well,
big deal.
and Townsend did one
Tuesday
thing that
for
doesn't
him.
show for anyone that didn't watch the game. Townsend did one thing that doesn't show up in the box score that is ridiculous. He's a 6'6" freshman that wasn't expected to even be a part of this team on any real level, and all of a sudden he was starting. He also wins almost every opening tip. It's something we can watch for. He's 6'6", but he was a very good high school high jumper, and he will
Do
get
you think
up.
the opening tip matters? I kind of think it's overrated.
No, but I think it's really funny just to see him go up against
Yeah.
like these big dudes and get up there and get it. It's been fun for me all season.
Okay,
But
fair enough. Because I know, like, I don't know if you ever noticed, but like when fans are in the stands, like they cheer when the opening tip is won, and I'm just like, okay, like
yeah,
it's such a weird flex.
but the big thing for Townsend, he took 6 charges against YSU, and I think at least 3 or 4 of those were against Naz Bohannon coming in at him. And Bohannon probably has 60, 70 pounds of muscle on that kid. And he just stood in there and took it. That's huge.
Yeah. So I want to touch on that real quick. I don't know. This isn't strategic, like gameplay related or anything. Like it's just a funny story. You had tweeted your story about how you asked his dad about the charges and asked if he learned it, if Townsend had learned it from his dad, right?
Yeah.
And what was his dad's response again?
So first, Trey's dad played for Oakland. This Trey is Campy's first like legacy student. Where his dad Skip had played for him back in the day. Now,
Right.
Right. But Trey's mom also played for Oakland on the women's side.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I mean, the Townsend family just has Oakland in their blood, which is part of his whole story. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
But when I asked Skip, his dad, about it, he laughed. And first off, he told me, no, I think he flopped on all of them, which he didn't. But that's such a dad response. But then he told me that all he gave Trey was his size. And Skip's a big man, tall and just big man. But he goes, all I gave Trey was the size. His mom, the basketball IQ and basketball skill comes from his mom.
Yeah. Well, and I bring that up because I thought it was hilarious. Like you asked that question to Campy on the coaches show. I know you're smiling because you know exactly where I'm going with this, but he responded to you and said, "No, I think those were all flops." And Campy was like, "Well, he definitely learned that from his dad. Like he's the greatest flopper of all time, or whatever." So I thought that was absolutely hilarious. It just kind of goes to show Campy's a funny dude.
He
So
really is.
Yeah, without a doubt. And then just to close the book on Youngstown State real quick, I want to show some respect to some guys I think that deserve it. Quisenberry had he had a rough one. I mean, his numbers look good, but they're not Quisenberry. Like he had 18 points. That's really good, but he wasn't super efficient from the field. He had 5 turnovers, 3 fouls. you look at that and you're just like, if Quisenberry had been Quisenberry, maybe the result's different. But and the last two things I'll say on their players, and I'll let you go, is uh Bohannon, man, triple double, like incredible, incredible. Just like I'm not surprised. That guy really, in my opinion, was he a first teamer? I think he ended up being on the second team, didn't he?
I think he ended up second team.
I think that we talk a lot about, like, I was kind of upset Adrian Nelson didn't have a spot in the third team. I was really questioning the DeAndre Golston snub. Um, I even was kind of a little weirded out about some of the placements within first, second, third team. Like, I thought maybe Vasily deserved to be second. Whatever. You could get nuanced about all that stuff. I think the biggest snub is, even more so than Marcus Burke, is Naz Bohannon. That dude
Yeah.
impacts the game in every possible way. And except for behind the 3-point line, but he doesn't need to. And like, for him not to be a first teamer was, to me, it was horrible. But
I was just gonna say, so Oakland had Youngstown in for 2 games earlier in the season, and Quisenberry was out. So we, Oakland had a good idea about them, but we hadn't seen YSU with Quisenberry yet. And even being at the game Tuesday, I kind of forgot about Darius Quisenberry sometimes, which is not something usual for a YSU game. Like he just kind of disappeared. Like his numbers, like you said, they were fine, but you kind of didn't have that usual worry. Like you usually play Darius Quisenberry and you want to know where he is every moment because the ball's in his hand and he's controlling the game. And you could tell he wasn't right. And I'm sure he was battling through all the injuries that he had all year. And I think that's been the issue, but it was not a typical Darius Quisenberry game.
really want to see him come back. I guess that's the only silver lining, is like, because he didn't have such a great year. I mean, he didn't make an all-league team. Like that. This is a guy that not a lot of people, I don't think anybody actually had him, wrestling player of the year, but I know a lot of people probably had him first team or in the running.
I think I had him second, but yeah, it was like a close one.
He was first team last year, right? I mean, like, no reason for him not to have been, given another performance like last year. We're probably talking about Darius Quisenberry as a snub for player of the year. Sort of like, maybe should Antoine Davis have won it? Like, we're bringing Quisenberry into that conversation if he does what he did last year. And so the silver lining there is, like, maybe as a league, maybe we get him back next year. But I mean, I don't know. Who knows? You never know.
And I was able to ask Jared Calhoun about that, and I was wrong. I thought Quisenberry was a senior, and I knew that he could come back. But I asked Calhoun in the press conference about, if that was his last game, do you have any thoughts about it? And he was like, that it is he could come back, was what Calhoun said. He wasn't going to speak on it or anything, but he did at least remind us that we might not have seen the last of Darius Quisenberry.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, first of all these guys could come back. I mean, every single, you could be 26 and a senior and you could still come back for next year because of but yeah, I mean, I guess my thing is, like, where's he going to go? He would maybe transfer to a bigger, better school, something like that. But like, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be the most competitive transfer portal we've ever seen.
He tested the NBA waters, if you remember, before the
season.
Yes,
I do.
And then decided to come back. He got what he needed from the NBA side. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he probably hurt his stock a little bit just with the injuries. He's kind of, forgotten a little bit.
I think he hurt his stock a lot.
So I wouldn't be surprised, depending on, the personal side of things, which we never know, what kids, their families, whatever are going through. He can go make money overseas at the very least right now. And
yeah, that's a good point.
If he takes that, at some point you go, hey, if I can make some decent money and provide for whatever I need to provide back home, like you take it at some point.
Yeah, this is where it gets so difficult, like, and not to speculate or anything like that, but like, you just don't know what kids' situations are, like, with financially. And then, I mean, also like with their home life, like, okay, so Jalen Billups played for NKU our first year in the league. He graduated and he's been playing overseas for 4 or 5 years now. And, but he hates it. He hates going over. Well, shouldn't say he hates going overseas, but there's a big trade-off. He doesn't get to see his family ever. Mm-hmm. And one thing he was like telling me about a year or two ago, like he was really excited about, is he really has been pushing hard. I don't know if there's been any movement here, but he's been pushing really hard to try to get, another shot at the G League. He was really close at one point. Something came up and he wasn't able to do it, but he's hoping to be able to get it done. And he said the biggest reason is, like, it's a game changer with my family. Like, I get to actually see my family like
Right.
whenever I need to. And when you're in Australia, you don't get that. And so for who knows, I mean, there's a plethora of things that could factor into it. I'm just saying from a skills, from a, just from a being an NBA fan and just understanding kind of how some of this stuff works. Like if he wasn't on draft boards last year, he ain't going to be on draft boards this year. No way. He's a
Exactly.
year older. Yeah, he's a year older, been dealing with injuries, did not produce. And as far as transferring, it's going to be the most competitive transfer portal we've ever seen. And like 2021 recruits can't get on rosters right now because there's just who knows who's coming back. So if I'm him and finances aren't a huge problem, I'm coming back for another year, getting a master's and seeing what happens. That's what I would
Exactly.
do. But I don't know. Anyway, all right, let's talk about stuff that actually matters. We won't recap the NKU game. We did that on the last call episode. So you guys can go watch that if you want. But let's talk a little bit about Matt, NKU and Oakland's upcoming matchup. These two teams have a interesting, I don't know, short-term history, I guess you'd say, dating back really since we joined the conference. I don't have numbers in front of me of like who really owns the series or anything like that. I just remember like there's been some really it's almost always a good game. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
go
go ahead.
ahead.
No,
No,
you.
no. Well, I was just gonna say, I actually I didn't get to go 2-3 years ago. Kendrick Nunn was 3 years ago, right? Or was he
I think
two?
so.
3
3.
years ago.
Two
Yeah.
years ago was the Drew McDonald shot.
Right, right. So Kendrick Nunn came in and to BB&T dropped 33 on us, like
And a big
absolute.
dunk at the end of the game.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if they won that game though. It was homecoming.
No, he did. Oakland, I remember because the Oakland fans were loving it because he was taunting your fans with a dunk at the end of the game.
That's right. But what's crazy is like we were still fifth. So they must have gave us one of our only 3 losses that year then because
Yeah.
we were fifth. Okay. So, but regardless, like there was that's a very memorable game. I remember sitting at home watching that, just like we can't stop this guy. Then we had last year, one of the games I remember from last year was at our place. We had Trayvon Faulkner get a steal down the stretch, the last minute, right there on the baseline. I was sitting courtside for that game. So like I was right there, got to see it, and it was incredible. Matt, what are your like thoughts, like just on the NKU series in general? What do you think when you see us on the calendar? Like, is it obviously this, I don't feel like this game probably feels the same for you as it does for when you guys see, say, I don't know, young Milwaukee, or even like, I don't know, UIC on the calendar,
Yeah, I mean, so like I'm glad that you guys have Wright State because we have Detroit Mercy. That's that rivalry game where like you've got that circled and it's in some ways all you care about. You know what I mean? Like that mentality. But when Oakland and NKU play, it's going to be a good game. It's always well coached. And I feel like they're always really close. Again, I'm not looking at numbers. I can't tell you the full like I just had that like as I think about it, I'm like, man, I feel like these games are always just tight.
Yeah.
And you can kind of ignore the first 35 minutes in a way and like, okay, let me know when there's 5 minutes left in the second half and I'm going to tune in because that's when it's going to start to get going. But I look forward to it. I enjoy playing you guys. I mean, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on your show, but like I like your fan base. I like to try to keep them in their place a little bit, and they like to keep me in mind, and I appreciate that. But like it's a good series. It's good because it's not the rivalry. Like if this was the game that we all had to get up for, it would be kind of lame. But it's like a secondary, like coming down from the big game that you have circled already. It's like, oh yeah, and I still get to do this one, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, it's funny. You mentioned that our history. It's 5-5.
I'm
That's
not
where
surprised.
I'm looking at it right now. It's where we are. We're on a 3-game win streak, which is the largest streak in the series. The largest margin of victory belongs to us as well. Actually, we beat you at your place the very first time we played you, which is crazy. That was the worst year of us in the league. And we beat you guys by 17 that year. It was 2015-16. So it's the year before Kendrick Nunn, I guess, right? Was he only a 1 year
Yeah,
guy
he was
for
a
you guys?
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't
But
know if you had a good team that year or not.
that would have been a K Felder year then, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, he was even better. I thought Kay Felder was even better than none. That's right. Yeah, that blows. But then you came to our place and beat us by 11. And I'm not gonna run through the whole thing, but it's just
It's
it's
a
a
close, it's a
really
good matchup. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I'm excited about doing this again.
yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And you know what's really funny is this will be the first neutral site matchup between the two of our teams. Um,
Technically, Motor City Madness was a neutral site, technically.
oh, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was in
so
Detroit, but that was, it's considered a neutral site.
okay, I take it back. I take it back. They don't have Motor City Madness on here. So
Then you
the
guys are
history
up.
yeah, that's right. It's 6-5. The history from January 19th, 2016 to February 6th, 2020. So this must have been in preview of the Motor City Madness game, is what I found. But okay. Well, this is where it gets really funny though, is like, so obviously we're 1-0 on neutral courts. You're 0-1 on neutral courts. Um, both teams are 2-3 at home. It's so weird. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
It's, like I said, when these two teams play, it's gonna be close. It's gonna be good basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. That's nice. Like, it's just not gonna be something you're like flipping around like, what else is on? Because this is just, it's not Oakland Milwaukee basketball. Like, that was some of the worst basketball I've ever watched. It was just painful. Like, I'm
Yeah.
excited to watch you guys play. And what's weird is we haven't seen you this year. Like, we're meeting here in the semifinals of the conference tournament, and because y'all got COVID, we didn't get to see you when we were supposed to see you. So now it's like, oh,
Yeah.
all right, cool, brand new opponent. Let's figure this out and scout a new team all of a sudden.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the funny thing is like I'm a storyline guy. Like when I cover sports, I like to write a story about it. Like I like to narrative it, or whatever you want to call it. I like to turn it into um I don't know. I just like to create a story for it. And so for me it's like I already said the Oakland I guess someone tweeted it before me, so got beat. But
It's okay.
I said the story of Oakland's tournament right now is, you know, can it be a redemption tour for them, or is this going to be kind of same old Oakland or whatever? Right state, same old right state. We definitely had a little bit of that. NKU, it's a kind of a lame storyline, but NKU's storyline is, here's this team that nobody's ever played together, right? We're so young. I mean, we have 3 guys returning that had significant minutes last year. Paul Jokos can be the 4th if you want to count him, but he's in and out. But it's a whole new thing. We're figuring this all out as we go. And oh, by the way, let's get to the tournament and give you your first 2 opponents. You haven't seen them this year, whereas everyone else is playing teams they've seen. So it's just like it's repetitive. Like we already had to figure all ourselves out. Like we had to kind of, I don't know. If I had to slap a word on it, I guess it would just be like new. That's what this is. This is the year of new for NKU.
And one thing that Oakland's doing that really actually makes it tougher on you guys, that's something that they've never done or haven't done in 20 plus years, where they're running this 1-3-1 zone that people are getting messed up by, especially because Parrish out top on that 1-3-1, he's so long. And so with you guys not having seen that from us before, that could potentially, mess with them a bit. Oakland's up there in the nation in steals because of the zone. Like, they're doing well with it. And Campy's even said he put it in because he had to. He was short on time because Oakland had a COVID break right before the start of the season. That's why they got slapped as hard as they did by Xavier and started the season 0-9 and blah blah blah. Meanwhile, he put in this zone defense that he doesn't usually ever even think about using, and it's been really successful.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I can't say for sure. I'm gonna have to go back and look at it. But I don't think NKU's seen a 1-3-1 this year, or if they have it, they haven't seen one in the last 2 months. I can tell you that. So that is going to be a little bit of a challenge, especially obviously, like you said, with the length. One thing we love to do is we love to get our guys out in sort of like ISO situations. We love running. Jim Sarro says it best. I don't know if this is an actual term. I heard him say it, and he's dead on with what it is. It's called an Iverson screen. Basically, it's like AI back in the day. He'd run from the block, like up the lane off both elbows where like 2 big men are setting him screens, like parallel screens at the elbows, and he gets free at the wing. And the goal is, you're running your guy up the line off 2 screens, you're hoping to get a switch somewhere. And if you get AI out there matched up on a big guy, curtains,
Right.
right? And yeah, so we're doing that a lot with Trayvon and Marquez. Like, it's not our primary offense, but we're running that 10 times a game for, between the two of them. And you can't really do that against a 1-3-1, especially since you're putting it out on the corner. I mean, on the wing, and teams can wrinkle in traps out of that too. So like when the ball goes to a corner, they want, sometimes they add in a wrinkle, like a trapping element. So
Who on
has
your team?
Oakland been doing that at all?
Yes, they've been doing the trap in the corner especially and all that. Who on your team can shoot the mid-range jumper? Because that could be what that game comes down to.
Oh, I mean, Trayvon and Marquez are two of the best mid-range. Trayvon, I said, might be. I had my fair share of criticism for Trayvon early in the year. He is probably the best mid-range guard in the league. Like, it's not a high statistical shot. So like not, or
Right,
analytical shot, I should say. Like, so nobody wants to take it. Antoine Davis doesn't shoot mid-range jumpers very often. Like, but
right.
Trayvon absolutely loves them. It's crazy. It's like watching like Manu Ginobili or something.
Well, and that's just like with most zones, that center right around the free throw line. That's where you got to get down into, and they'll let you shoot it. They don't have a choice the way that zone works. So if
Yeah.
someone gets going from there, that's
The hardest part about the 1-3-1 is like, you want to break it by obviously getting the ball. Like, you want to rotate them enough to where you can sink the ball into the middle, and then the zone just kind of collapses on the middle, and then everything opens up. The kick out for three, the baseline specifically. But like, you have to have a great decision maker in the middle. So like, what was so good for NKU, like every time a team zoned us 3 years ago, and I was just like on the edge of my seat. I didn't even care. Like, the old adage is like, hey, shoot your way out of a zone or whatever. Like, beat a zone by shoot. No way, dude. I used to love watching Drew McDonald operate the middle
I'm sure.
of a zone offense because he's the most cerebral player like I've ever watched at NKU. And he'll get the ball and everything's an option. We loved running like Chris Vogt on the baseline. And so you get that high-low action with
That's a future NBA star, Chris Vogt, right?
uh yeah, future NBA star Chris Vogt, trademark Valhalla Vanguard.
Right.
Um, yeah, so you get one of the best passing big men like of his era, the ball in the paint, and you get a 7-footer, a future NBA 7-footer running that baseline. And Trayvon would run the baseline too. Like, we had Sharp who could shoot. We had I don't know, Levon Holland that year could shoot. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be tough. I don't know what we have this year, but I'm usually pretty pessimistic on NKU before the game and then pretty optimistic afterwards. So
Yeah, that's a way to operate.
yeah, for sure. Hey, you know what? I can't let us get through an entire podcast without asking you about this. We didn't talk about Jalen Moore or we talked about Rashad. We didn't talk about Jalen Moore. We did not talk about Oladapo, and we did not talk about Zion Young. I feel like those are kind of like some key players that we need to at least hear their names.
Yeah.
So, and then, I mean, I guess we can talk about Lampman if you want,
Nope.
and maybe
He hasn't,
Kangu.
honestly, he hasn't even been playing.
Okay. All right.
Lampman, yeah, he hasn't been playing. Kangu has been playing a lot, but in the YSU game, he made 2 early mistakes and never saw the floor again.
Okay. Wow.
So, but you'll see him. Jalen Moore is probably the best point guard in the league at this point. And he's fast. And if
So is Jalen Moore a point guard? Does he run the point for y'all?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Well,
because Rashad was your point guard last year.
No, but yes, but not really.
You didn't really have. Did you not have one? I guess.
No, that was part of the problem last year. Is Oakland didn't have a point guard.
Okay, got it.
When Norse transferred to Loyola Chicago out of nowhere, all of a sudden they were left without a point guard. It was a whole mess. So that's why they went out and got Jalen Moore from the JUCO ranks. He was a 3rd-team All JUCO point guard and should be probably playing at the high major level, but I think he's listed at 5'10", which tells you that he's probably even shorter than that. I think he's probably listed at 175 pounds, which tells you he's probably less than that. But he can shoot. He can pass. He passes so well. He's fast. There's a reason he was a first teamer and will probably be in the discussion for Horizon League Player of the Year in the future.
Yeah, I mean, NKU fans got to know about this guy. He's so smooth too. Like I don't know. This is a really bad comparison, and it's not like it's a good comparison from a skill set perspective. So stick with me on it. But it's a bad comparison just because like you don't really want your name associated with this guy right now. But he's got a lot of like Delonte West vibes to his game. Like, and I say that because he's like lefty and stuff, but I mean he's just like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like
Well,
Delonte West was always very smooth in college and like go ahead though.
one of the biggest reasons Oakland was able to land him out of a whole lot of other teams, including he was so close to signing with Purdue Fort Wayne, and then last second went to Oakland, but that's a different story. Um, he's an undersized lefty point guard. When has Oakland had one of those before in the past? Kay Felder. He's real aware of Kay Felder, and he's working within that model at Oakland, and that was a big part of the recruiting pitch to get him was, hey, you've seen that we can get what we can do with someone like you. Kay Felder was a bit stronger, more still adjusting to the size of NCAA Division I, but what you can essentially look for, this will be telling how this game plays out, is how they officiate this game. If they're gonna call a lot of fouls and let more get to the line, you guys are done. If they let them play through contact, probably gonna win. Northern Kentucky will probably win. Like Moore shoots more free throws than anyone in the nation, but when they're not calling it, he just gets knocked around, and he getting to the line is important to him. So that's
Yeah.
something to keep an eye on in this game.
Well, the good news is it's Horizon League basketball, so it could be called very physical for 5 minutes, and then I mean, who the hell knows? Like Loudon Love, I mean, I'm I'm not going to sit here and cry in my Cheerios that Wright State is not in the tournament anymore. But Loudon Love got some of the worst foul. Like I went back and I just got done watching that entire game today, recording it and all that, so I can maybe make a video out of it. But that dude got some horrible calls against him. Like I would be like not as bad as the Bryson Langdon foul that I shared, by the way. But I mean, that was. You saw that? Like that was. What the hell? Like Waterman pushed off Trayvon Faulkner in the back, and then he goes and just tackles Bryson. I don't know what the ref was doing there. It's almost like he blew the whistle, pointed one way on accident, like he didn't mean to do it, and then he's just like, "Oh shit, just fuck, I can't do it now. Like I'm gonna get tweeted about." All right, it's like, dude, just correct yourself, and then you wouldn't be on Twitter.
Tell you what, I've watched enough Detroit Mercy games. This is very unrelated. Something to talk about another day or to keep in the back of our minds. Waterman's dirty. I've seen a lot of chippy moves out of that dude, and
dude, I don't trust any white kid with a man bun. Like
I was a white kid with a man bun. I'm not gonna lie to you for a couple of years, so I would let it go.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that every white kid with a man bun is bad. I'm just saying that like it's a 50-50 split. So that I don't like those odds. Like those, like if
he's dirty.
When we're talking about like a look and you're segmenting people's personality based on how they look, that's probably that's got to be one of the higher percentages of like shitheads. Like, you're talking about.
I am, as your fans know, I would fall in that category.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that real quick. We'll close out with that.
Let's do this.
I should have led with this, but I wanted to, no one ever makes it to the 40th minute on this, so we'll.
That's too bad because they're gonna want to hear this part. I know.
So, as you guys know, I'm not trying to get into like a historic thing here or anything like that, but I will just say, generally speaking, I think it's fair to say that Matt has always been the least bullish on NKU out of anybody around the league, whatever you want to take with that. Anyone who can consider themselves somewhat nonpartisan, out of all those people, Matt has always been like, basically, it's always felt like, okay, this is the year that NKU is finally not going to be good. And he really, really stuck that home this year as he picked NKU to finish. A lot of people had NKU finishing 6th. Some people had him finishing 7th. Some people had him finishing 8th. I mean, it's a completely new team, everything like that. Matt was lower than that. He wasn't, he didn't go with 8th. He can go with 9th. He can go with 10th. He thought that NKU was going to be the second worst team in the conference.
I did.
And we are now within a game of being the second best team in the conference. Unless, of course, we lose and then you put an asterisk on the season and it doesn't count. So, Matt, it's time to atone for
And
your
I want you to know
transgressions.
for about a month and a half, if you're listening to Horizone Roundtable, where I am pretty much every week in some of my writing, I have said it, but I'll say it on yours as well for your fans. I was wrong. Mea culpa, my bad. NKU, looking at it and looking at what you guys lost, losing Tate to Arkansas, right? Like
Yeah.
all of that, like
Yep.
looking at it, looking with the, your coach, second year, okay, sometimes players stick around for that first year to see what's going on and then take off, as we're seeing with Green Bay right now. Like I thought the wheels were going to fall off for a minute. I wouldn't have said that I think it's going to be this way forever and you guys are about to be bottom feeders forever, but I thought this was going to be a rebuild for you guys. And instead, you guys, your team has done a hell of a job to be right there. I also have to say, not only did I have you guys 11th, that meant there was one team that could be worse, in my opinion, what my preseason thoughts, the Northern Kentucky. And I had that as Milwaukee. So 2 of the last 4 teams standing, I had in my bottom 2. So as we all know, if you've ever listened to me talk, read anything I wrote, I have no idea what I'm talking about and just ignore me. It's fine. I understand.
Yeah. So I would give you some advice, Matt, and that is just to continue. If this is how you want to go, just continue like you don't give a shit what people think. I think that's the best way to go.
I'm good
But
at
if if you tend to care about things like, I don't know, your integrity or
I have none.
self-respect,
I'm on Horizon Roundtable. What integrity?
anything like that. Hey, Horizon Roundtable credentialed by the Horizon League, so you better chill out on that. No, if you care about any of these things, I mean, even if you just care about how, like, what people think about you and if they respect you, do what I do. Just fall off the face of the earth at the beginning of the season. Don't answer DMs and don't even put your preseason picks in, because then you can come back and Monday morning quarterback it with me in March.
Okay. Because I will always put it out there and I'm willing to say I'm right and I'm willing to say I'm wrong. And on Northern Kentucky this year, I was wrong. And it's just going to be fitting that you guys are going to knock Oakland out of the tournament to put a big exclamation point on the how wrong I was factor.
Fair enough. Fair enough. To be fair, because that's what we like to do here. Matt had us 11th. We were 3-5 at one point, coming off a 2-game sweep, getting swept, I should say, in 2 games by IUPUI at home. So, I don't know. I mean, if we had played Oakland those 2 games, we canceled them and maybe lost those 2 games, and the wheels were really going to start falling off, maybe we don't recover. So it just goes to show, like, obviously we ended up doing way better, but we got hot. We won 8 of our last 10, and that kind of saved us from the basement. We were like 9th after we lost to IUPUI. So
the last thing, and then I'll let you close this out. I know that you're sick of hearing from me. The biggest thing I didn't account for, and I should have listened to you guys, but sometimes when you're reporting on your own, you got to try to weed through like how much of it is hype and how much of it is real. Is I didn't believe how good Warwick was going to be. I didn't believe it.
I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care what anybody says. Everyone's going to Monday morning quarterback this. And I'm not even going to Monday morning quarterback this. I knew Warwick was going to be good. I did not know he was going to be freshman of the year. I don't think anybody, you can never make that prediction. That's ridiculous. So anyone who tries to say like, I knew this kid, like, dude, I went and watched him play in high school. Like, me and Troy Corns met up in Lexington, watched this kid beat the number 2 team in the state. And we both looked at each other and said, this kid's legit. But like, I had concerns. I didn't see him shoot very many threes that game. I didn't see him. I didn't see him, well, I guess I saw him drive to the basket a lot and take contact, but that's from high schoolers. Like, I don't know. Right. He's a small kid. Warwick was a huge pleasant surprise. I would say for me, like, I mean, I had NKU 6, but like, that's because I'm an NKU fan. If I was being realistic, I would have said, like, I was saying basically to other NKU fans, expect a down year. I don't see us being better than 4th, but don't be surprised. Like, I basically was saying, take 6th or better or higher as a win. Like, that's a win this year. And so what I mean by that is, I didn't deny that we could fall below 6. And like, I didn't expect Bryson Langdon to increase his production scoring the basketball. I didn't know he was capable of doing it. Adrian Nelson, most efficient rebounder in the conference at 6'7". Like, and I say most efficient, like, he doesn't get the most boards, but he's got the highest offensive rebound percentage. And so, like, him and Oladapo obviously have a stake in the rebounding king title. In fact, that's another little storyline we can focus on when we watch the game. But I guess the point is, like, even NKU fans, most of them did not expect this this year. So yeah.
You guys, honestly, there's a lot of correlations between the way you guys have been in the Horizon League and Oakland. Oakland has never been in the bottom half of the league since they joined this league either. And there's been a lot of years that they've been expected to be.
Did they finish strong? Did they finish strong last year? I thought they were bottom half last year, but
I don't believe so. I think they were 5th or 6th, something like that.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll have to double again. I apologize if I'm wrong, but
no, that's okay. But that would be an anomaly. I mean, NKU. I could say NKU's never finished bottom half of the league, but they were 5-13 their first year. But that's their first year. So like,
right.
Everyone's got that one year too. So
but Oakland did. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, all right, man. Let's. I guess before we sign off, I need to get a prediction. You can go down to score if you want, or you can just give me straight up win-loss, however you want to do it.
So here's how I'm going to do this. And luckily by this point, most of the Oakland people aren't listening, so they can't come at me. Oakland has a tendency to win the first game of the tournament that they play in and lose the second one. And I don't know that they buck that tradition. So I'm going to say NKU by 7.
Cool. You're right. Probably that Oakland people have probably tuned out a long time ago. At this point, I am still going to clip this, and this is going to make Twitter as a highlight. So don't worry about them not seeing it. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So we talk about integrity, right? And what people think about you, stuff like that. I had Oakland winning it all. I did. I genuinely did. And a lot of it was an emotional pick. I just wanted them to get to the final because it meant and it was an easier path for NKU, and then we'd meet, and then who knows? And I just picked Oakland because I didn't want to pick NKU. But so on the one hand, I can't fall back on my pick. But on the other hand, it's like I do have some plausible deniability because like we're not meeting in the championship, and I picked Oakland to beat us in the championship.
The championship's totally different than the semifinal here.
I know. It's the late game. It's 9:30. No, I got to stick with it. Mostly because I'd rather be wrong and happy and elated than correct and disappointed.
This is like when you bet on the other team against your team, so you're either going to make money or you're going to be happy. I see what you're doing.
Exactly. So I'm gonna double down on my Oakland pick. I think that the 1-3-1 gives us some problems. I think that Oakland is a much better rebounding team than Detroit Mercy is. Detroit Mercy is probably the worst rebounding team I've ever seen. Primarily because they shoot so well, they don't need to rebound as much, but they really just do not. They just are not very well. I don't know if they just don't have the skill or they're not coached well in that regard. I don't know.
That's not what they're built to do.
Yeah, it was bad. We really exploited that. We're not going to get that with Oakland. So we're going to have to be a lot more effective on the first shot we get. And it's going to be very difficult to do that in a 1-3-1 against that length. So I actually have that being the difference. I'll say games have been trending. Well, the regulation games anyway have been trending more like in the 70s. I had NKU beating Detroit Mercy 72-65. I was off by only a little bit. It was 70-69. So I'm going to go Oakland. I'll do the same score that I did for Detroit Mercy and NKU, but I'll flip it and say actually I'll do 72-68. 72-68 Oakland. Go with that. Yeah.
Look at that. I predict NKU, you pick Oakland. Worlds are colliding.
I think we're both just like really jaded. That's what it is.
Like I said, I've seen Oakland lose in the second round after winning the first round of whatever, second round, however that plays out. The second game they play in the tournament, they've never made it to the Horizon League finals. That's what it comes down to. So,
and my thing is, like I said, I don't give a shit if anyone cares about my predictions because they always suck. I'm more of like a write about what's happening on the court kind of guy. So I'll predict whatever the hell I want and then just say, yep, I was wrong. Sorry.
I just talk.
So
people keep asking me to talk. It's weird. I like it though.
All right, Matt, tell me where people can find you and then let's get out of here.
All right. On Twitter at Horizone Matt. That's me. Follow the podcast at Horizone RT. We appreciate it. Please listen to us. We really try our best to cover everybody except for one school that doesn't want to take care of us because we're credentialed at 11.
Yeah, USC. Come on, USC. Send us some writers. We need some writers. Oh, you're talking about someone.
That's not the one, Kyle.
Yeah, I know. We all know the story. But But you know what? I'm going to get to talk to Darren Horn for the first time in 12 months. Uh, Hopefully it's after a win, but if it's after a loss, I'm still going to ask him a question. I don't know what the hell it's going to be, but we'll see.
Make yourself seen, my friend. We're happy to have you.
That's right. All right, man. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Talk, I guess, next year.
Hey, Kyle, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right. Peace out.
Take care.